जन्म में बाबा तेरा साथ चाहिए, सिर पे मेरे बाबा तेरा हाथ चाहिए। हर जन्म में बाबा तेरा साथ चाहिए, सिर पे मेरे बाबा तेरा हाथ चाहिए। सिलसिला ये टूटना नहीं चाहिए, मुझको मेरी भक्ति का इनाम चाहिए। हर जन्म में बाबा तेरा साथ चाहिए, सिर पे मेरे बाबा तेरा हाथ चाहिए। मेरी आंखों में तुम समाए हो, सारी दुनिया में सबसे प्यारे हो। मेरी आंखों में तुम समाए हो, सारी दुनिया में सबसे प्यारे हो। मुझको तेरे प्यार की बरसात चाहिए, मुझको बस इतनी सी सौगात चाहिए। हर जन्म में बाबा तेरा साथ चाहिए, सिर पे मेरे बाबा तेरा हाथ चाहिए। हर जन्म में बाबा तेरा साथ चाहिए, सिर पे मेरे बाबा तेरा हाथ चाहिए। मेरी दुनिया को तुम बसाए हो, मेरे जीवन को तुम सजाए हो। मेरी दुनिया को तुम बसाए हो, मेरे जीवन को तुम सजाए हो। नाम तेरा होठों पे दिन रात चाहिए, जिक्र हो तेरा ही ऐसी बात चाहिए।
Om Shanti, Sister Jayanti.
Om Shanti, Aruna Ben.
And Om Shanti, everyone. And what an amazing few days it's been. It's been like a whirlwind, but full of joy, full of intoxication. And there's a complete new meaning to being bodiless now, because everybody's been working day and night. But because there's been so much joy and intoxication, everybody's still feeling very light. And that is only the miracle of Baba's work, really. I was thinking the other day, when we had so many people, BKs in the marquee, we had over 1,000 people in the marquee.
1,700.
Well, we had, yeah, maybe, well, yeah, that was the total. But in the marquee itself, it was so full. And because it was raining, there were a lot of people that were sitting in the conference room, presentation room, in other parts of the house, in the dining room. But I was thinking, if it had been a Lokik event, there'd be so many people getting panicked, getting angry, using foul language, just getting frustrated. But the energy of BKs on that day, and especially those who had come after a very long time, it was ecstatic. It was amazing. And each one was kind of adding to each other's energy, high energy. So Saturday was brilliant. It was a BK day, lots of BK speak lectures. And then on yesterday, Sunday, it was the public day. So for the public day, we had 1750 for the public day. BK day was a bit more. And yeah, I just want to say it was really lovely to have Brij Mohan Bhai and Mohini Didi. They've left now this morning. Well, Mohini Didi left yesterday. She came for 36 hours, but we felt we did so much, right, Sister Jayanti? So much happened. That's what she was telling me in the car, that it didn't, even Bhumi Ben was saying, like, we've done so much, it doesn't feel like just one day. And I just want to mention a few lines from the Bhog message that Baba gave for GRC. And Baba said he wants to give all of us a big hug. And he said that each one is special and important child. And Baba said that each one is a victorious jewel, a victorious soul. But the line that really clinched to me was Baba saying, this culture of love will become world governance. So this is what we're really trying to create here, is that culture of love. So yeah, let's hear from Sister Jayanti. Let's hear her thoughts on the couple of days, and then the Murli revision. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aruna. And yes, it was high energy. And the atmosphere in the tent, the marquee, on the rainy day, the Saturday, the BK day, was so light and people were joyful. There was dancing, there was jumping, there was singing, there was all sorts of things going on together with all the serious and light consciousness of Gyan and yoga and Baba's presence. And just imagine everybody stayed from 10. They came earlier, they came for breakfast. So it was like from 9 o'clock that people came, and they were there till about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and a bit later even maybe. But the atmosphere, just huge happiness. And then yesterday, amazing, because again, people came so early. They started coming from about 1 o'clock before the program, even before the garden was open. But they, of course, came, and again, it was such a beautiful scene from the windows. Everywhere you could see people just having cups of tea and taking toli, and the people serving were light and easy and happy, and just every part of, and it was sunny, of course, yesterday, but every part of the gardens around the house were full of beautiful faces and people. And then the program, I don't think there's been a program that has moved from A through to B to Z with such precision. How many programs do you know that start on time and finish on time? And this one did. Everybody kept to their time slots. There was a spontaneous Om chanting by Bhumi Ben from New York, and she really has some breath control. Her Om was long, very long, but every inch of it, every moment of it was so beautiful. And I know that literally it was day and night that I saw people helping in every department, in every corner of the house, the invisible, the incognito, but also the visible, the cognito, everybody. So the mountain got lifted. They say that Kali Yuga mountain gets lifted with everybody's little finger, but this was everybody's hands lifting the end of the old chapter and the beginning of a new. So it really was very special. So thank you, Baba. Thank you, Drama. Thank you, GRC. Thank you, Mohini Didi. Thank you, Brishmohan Bhai. The list of thank yous can continue for a long time. So I'll just say thank you, everyone.
And thank you to GCH as well. Everybody from GCH helped to prepare the meal, also helped with the tech team. So it really was a great act of unity, coming together, cooperation. It was wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, so yesterday's Murli was also very beautiful, and it set the scene for not just the day, but really all these Murlis of the 90s were so intense and detailed. Well, you've heard the 60s, the 70s, and 80s and 90s. So that intensity and focus with which Baba explained every single stage of the soul, every mood of the soul, the different forms that Maya takes. Baba really explores it in so much detail and gives it to us on a plate. We don't even have to sit and churn and think about, well, why, how does this connect with this? Baba spells it out for us. So just imagine Mama and Baba became Karmatit without the Abhyakt Murlis. And we've had so much sustenance from the Abhyakt Murlis. Sakar, of course, is the foundation. But the Abhyakt Murlis have sustained us all this time. And Baba's really giving us a lot of help. So the first thing that Baba was asking of us was looking at all the children and seeing that the ocean, the one who is absolute and perfect, is making all attainments, all treasures available for the children. And so how much are the children able to take? Because it totally depends on each child how much they want to take of their godly inheritance and birthright. Baba doesn't give 10% to some or 20% to others. It's all available for all. So a very interesting question then. What is it that makes it number-wise? And Baba has been explaining number 1, number 2, number 3 all along, all these years. But in this Murli, the specific point that Baba made was, to whatever extent you actually imbibe and make God's treasures belong to you and become yours, to that extent you claim your birthright and your number. And so God doesn't dictate and say this one is 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. I'm not even saying 1 and 2 because that's fixed in the drama forever and ever. But all the other numbers, they're wide open. Maybe now up to number 8 is fixed, but that still gives a lot of margin for many, many others to aim for the 100 or to aim for 16,000, whatever it is you wish, whatever you're inclined for. So it's totally open. God doesn't say no entry. We determine whether we're worthy and capable and are able to move to that entrance. So Baba was looking at all the children and seeing all the children who were number-wise according to their own capacity. Baba asked a question. There's this expression that you've heard in Murlis very often, that there's nothing unavailable in the treasure store of the deities. That's the bhakti idea. And Baba's translated that into, there's nothing that's unavailable in the treasure store of Brahmins. And so Baba's question was, do you experience that now? Or do you think you're going to be able to experience that at the end, just before destruction? Baba said, the praises of now. And of course, whose praise is it? Is it those who are yet to come? No, it's your praise, because you are the Brahmins who have been making effort over a period of time. And so you're the ones who have to imbibe everything within yourself so that then, yes, for sure, you're able to experience all those treasures today. And Baba then spoke about how really, truly, the thing that one is lack of imbibing. And then what happens is that when there's something lacking in the soul, what happens then? There's discontent. And because of the discontent, then of course there's all sorts of questions that arise. Baba played around a lot with these 2 words, prasanna chit, which is happiness in the chit, not just externally putting on a smile, but it's deep inside of you and nothing can take it away from you. And the contrast of that, prashna chit, prashna, question. And so is my chit, the innermost being, the soul, carries the chit, the memory track. And so is it that there are just questions that keep arising? Why did it happen like this? It shouldn't have happened like this. This wasn't right. It could have been like this. So all these questions that arise and stay in the chip, then that destroys your happiness. And so it's either prasanachit, the happy state, or prashnachit, the being full of all questions. And one is where you ask questions for understanding and clarity, but the other is where there are doubts. So why did it happen? It shouldn't have happened like this. Why is it happening to me? Why can't it be somebody else? So it's these sorts of questions about doubt. Doubt in God's plan, doubt in the drama, doubt in the others who are ahead of me, doubts in the ones who are behind me. And when there are questions eating away inside, my happiness is gone, that's for sure. But then probably I'm going to look for souls who have space and time and are interested in hearing these stories about why and not and why whatever. And so I've also mentioned how at this moment, everybody enjoys food that is spicy and tasty. And when there's a bit of gossip, then that's very spicy. And of course, the person who's relating it is seeing the interest in the other also. And so it's adding probably a bit more spice to the whole story. And so the whole story becomes bigger and bigger. But from one, it's now come to two. And if I have the guarantee of what's going on in terms of my own faith and loyalty, faithfulness to Baba, but also my understanding of Gyan and Yoga and my experience of Gyan and Yoga, with my state of happiness and stability, I can provide that canopy of shade away from the hot sun of Maya, so that then others can experience that coolness of peace under that shade. Me being the tree that's content and happy. And so then providing that shade for others to benefit from. But if I have those doubts in myself, they'll come to me with questions. And maybe what I'll then do is say, yes, I agree with you. Yes, it's really what you're saying. Yeah, it shouldn't be like this. Wow, I've gone down and the other soul has gone down even further. They were already depleted, but the way they shared, I'd say it was a real, at that moment, I'd say I have a big heart. So I was just listening to them. They needed to talk. And so I became the person who they found. And so they were letting it all out. Well, it's fine for them to let it out, but where is it sitting now? Is it sitting in the bin out there? Or is it sitting in here in the soul? And I'm now carrying that burden and load. And so from one, it became two. And now from two, it's definitely going to become four. It's not going to stay just inside of one or two. And so things will spread and the atmosphere will be spoiled. And every time I engage in this sort of activity, my thermometer of happiness is definitely going to go further and further and further down. And even maybe sweet memories that I would have had of that person or that place become displaced with all the negative thinking that's now coming up about them. And of course, their ears will be burning for sure. They'll know that I'm talking about them. And that's going to create a big gap in distance, and it's going to be very unhealthy. And so that whole subject of being able to provide canopy of protection and shade and comfort for others, it's a very beautiful image that Baba used. And so have I reached that stage where if somebody is talking about all sorts of negative stuff, Am I able to say, thank you, no, just a full stop? Or if I feel I have to hear them out, can I protect myself with God's canopy so that their heaviness doesn't reach me and cause me to lose my doubts or my faith? Because faith is very, very subtle. Today I have it. Tomorrow, Maya's going to test me. She's going to come and shake my foundation, and she's going to come and try and shake my throne. And so I have to remain very stable on this throne. And also, Baba was saying that in this stage where Maya comes to shake you, she should actually go away saluting you. You don't have to bow and be subservient to Maya, but she's the one who has to bow to you and become subservient. And so questions about myself, questions about others, questions about the yajna, all of these things arise, and it's hot air. Go back to the Sakar Murlis, the Avyakt revision course Murlis, and see for yourself, where is it that I'm going a little bit off track? And if I seek assistance from anyone who I trust, nowadays global barriers have all come down and communication systems are excellent, and you can connect with whoever it is you trust in these matters. Service, you have to go through your the center coordinator, your national coordinator, and they'll go to the RC also. But certainly in terms of just inspirations of dharana, this is something I can do and inspire others to do the same and be the same by example, because teaching by example is actually the only real way to teach. Everything else is going to be a price to pay. But teach by example, and that's available for everyone to see and learn. And so Baba telling us how to be able to deal with other people's questions, but of course my own questions, if anything does arise. And then Baba was talking about something that in Hindi, the three words rhyme. Very often Baba picks those words in Hindi. Naam, Man, Shan. My name, fame, and my regard and my honor. Man, to give regard, and then Shan, my honor. And so Baba took us through this whole journey of what is it that brings what. And so that first stage of name, Baba said these are the things that everybody wants. And so what is your name? Your name is chanted by God every day. And Baba didn't specify, but of course, when he says, Mite, mite, sikilade bache, long lost and now found, sweet, sweet children, that is God chanting our name every single day. And also the name of Brahmins, just the word Brahmin. And in India, it immediately, or wherever there's a Hindu community, it immediately commands respect. You don't see a Brahmin as an ordinary person. He's a householder usually, family and everything, sometimes nowadays even jobs, because just being a priest doesn't help you pay the bills anymore. So this Brahmin, just a name, and they don't necessarily follow any principles of purity. They used to be very particular about diet. At least their diet was pure sattvic. But now I know there are Brahmins who are even dismissive about that. Lokik Brahmins, no, surreal Brahmins. And so they earn a living, or whatever extent they can, just simply by being born into that family, Brahmin family. And so the name Brahmin, again, it's so respected. And then the images that are being worshipped. Again, it's you who is being worshipped. And so your name is so much more elevated and higher than anything a human being can say about you. And yes, it's a fact that sometimes I've done a lot and it's not being acknowledged or recognized. And Baba said, so what? God knows your name, but also your name is on the list of the Rosary of Victory. If you've passed through that stage in which you do so much, but it's not recognized, it's okay. Your name is coming on that list of the Rosary of Victory. So what is better? This would be temporary, very, very short-lived. And the other, to be part of the Rosary of Victory, just imagine how many blessings that brings in so many different ways. And then man, the regard, the respect. And so the respect that God gives his children, he makes us higher than himself, and he makes us doubly worship worthy. And so Baba spoke about that again. And so what is it that you want from Kali Yuga, or even in the Brahmin family? They don't have respect for me. They don't value what I'm doing. They don't recognize what I'm doing. No, waste of time, waste of energy, and waste of my own stage. I'm losing my stage through these thoughts. And so to remember the real regard that Baba has given me and the regard that I will receive through the rest of the whole cycle. I don't need to worry about the regard that others give me or don't give me. But if I maintain my own stage, then that stage of honor was later, that stage of regard is the highest that, again, nobody is able to shake. And then, of course, Baba spoke about honor. The highest honor is to be crowned as a king or queen, and to sit on a throne and to be wearing a crown. And here is God seating me on his heart throne and is placing the crown of light on my head and the crown of responsibility in Sangam Yuga. And so what other type of throne do I want? Just a reflection on that. The recent history of kings and queens, right from actually the Copper Age onwards, it's been one of war and violence and battling for kingdoms, someone being beheaded, someone being assassinated, someone being put into jail. That's history. That's the sort of history that we hear about in all our lessons, whether in India or whether in England, and I'm assuming most other places also, that this king led his army to battle in this place and he was defeated, and then he tried again, and then he had victory. So it's all about victory and defeat and violence and war. And the kings of today, especially, so many worries on their heads. It's a crown of thorns. It's not a crown of light or of jewels at all. And so I don't want that. What is it that I want? Yes, I want to be seated on God's heart throne. And this is the place not only of joy and honor, but it's also the place of total safety, where nothing can touch me. There won't be any other influences that can work on me. It's just simply God loving his child and the child receiving that love and giving love back in return. And so Baba said, every day, emerge your attainments. Don't just say, well, like sometimes we say, well, I'm Baba's child anyway. I remember Baba all the time. And then when you actually look at your chart, how many minutes did you remember Baba during the last hour? Or even during yoga, how many minutes was I actually connected with Baba? And so remembrance in an emerged form is totally different to thinking, well, I'm God's child anyway. That's not actually yoga. yes, it's great to have that awareness, but then to make that awareness manifest is so important. And so that state where I think of my attainments and I can feel that, yes, Baba's given me more than everything. And if I keep that emerged consciousness, then I'm going to feel content, and my contentment is going to lead me to happiness. And where I'm not feeling content, then this discontent means that all the negativity that's in the soul is coming out in one form or another. So this was the summary of yesterday's Murli. And just amazing that Baba pours out all these secrets of what's going on inside human souls generally, and what's going on inside of Brahman souls, and under the cover, what's going on in the world out there also. So, Aruna Ben?
Yes, thank you so much, Sister Jayanti. Always so lovely to have your synopsis. Jayanti, let's go back to, I think that was a very deep point about spiritual honor and arrogance. And I think it's our tribal instincts that want us to defend our honor. But having churned on it a bit, I feel it's because we identify with the vicious part of ourselves that we feel we need to defend. But anyway, I'd like to hear your thoughts on what is real honor. That's one question. Second, how do you maintain your honor, you yourself? And what is the difference between self-respect and honor? Or honor and arrogance, self-respect and arrogance.
Okay. From my own experience, when I know that I'm accurate in Srimad, I'm following Baba's instructions, then in that awareness, I can feel Baba's presence and closeness and support and help at all times. And that I know is then my honor. It's my dignity, it's my honor, and I'm being true to myself, because if I've chosen to follow the path that God is showing me, then if I'm doing it truly, genuinely with my heart, then that is my honor, and I feel very comfortable with everything. If I've made a choice of becoming a BK, a yogi, but I'm off track for whatever reason, in whatever way, then there's a feeling of guilt. And so I don't feel Baba's closeness. And so it's as if I've slipped away from that seat of honor, and the soul feels burdened by that, heavy with that. And where I'm following everything, I'm light, I'm happy, I'm easy, and I can maintain my own dignity. And very good question about the difference between self-respect and arrogance or honor, my state of honor and arrogance. Baba spoke about it today in the Murli yesterday. And it was very interesting because Baba gave such a clear clarification. Baba said, if anything is said about you and you feel insulted by it, that's ego, that's arrogance. If it's not true, then why should I react? And if it is true, then I need to do something about it. And again, certainly reacting to it isn't going to be useful. And so, you know how sometimes there's a sentence from the Murli that clarifies what is the dividing line between this and this. And so for me, this was the dividing line that came through so clearly from the Murli, that when there's any arrogance, any ego that's still there, that I can't tolerate anyone talking about me in a negative way. It might be true, it might not be true, but that's not actually the point. The point is that I'm reacting. It's, like if somebody tells you you've got attachment and you've got no attachment, you laugh about it and say, whatever gave you that idea, you shrug it off. But if I do have attachment and somebody points it out, who told you that? How do you know? Why do you think? There's an instant reaction to that. So when truth hits the target, then where there's humility, you accept it with grace. Okay, I'm going to look at it. I'll think about it. And the other, reaction. And that's ego, that's arrogance. And so my self-respect will make sure that I have humility. Self-respect means being able to give regard to others and to know that if I have respect for myself, then it's going to be very easy to give others respect and value whatever it is they say to me, not react, not reject, but value it. And then as a result of valuing it, to see how it applies and to do something about it.
Yeah, gentlemen, that's so true. I mean, that's what we say, don't we, when we talk about ego, that if you didn't have an ego, then it wouldn't be dented. Because there's something to dent. It's dented. So in connection with this, Sister Jayanti, so again, somebody's question from yesterday. So is it not my right to be spoken to kindly, or is it not my right to be treated with respect and honor? I mean, one is that, okay, I'm reacting, as you said, but I guess I'm saying, can anything be justified here? The reason why one is getting triggered is because, there is some backlash of somebody's words.
I can determine my own thinking, feeling, speaking, being, everything. I cannot control and dictate what somebody else is saying or doing. If I could, well, am I first able to control myself? And then the next step is, can somebody understand when I try and explain something to them? So it's not a question of whether it's my right or not my right. It's the reality of what's happening in the situation, and whatever they're doing, can I control it? And if I can't control it to try and change them, it's not going to happen ever, ever. But also, you see, when I remember, and this is what Baba was reminding us of, every day have gratitude for what it is God has given. And by remembering my attainments, or even do the gratitude exercise every night and every morning, and it will surely but surely help you. So yesterday's Murli is very much connected with that, in the sense that Baba's saying, be thankful, be grateful for what you have been given, and so appreciate it, recognize it. And if I have that state of appreciation and recognition, then a few words here, a few words there are not going to throw me. But where I don't have that contentment of attainment, there's still empty gaps, there's holes there. I'm not going to be able to maintain that self-respect, and so reactions. And so I need to be able to remember what Baba is telling me about myself and believe in it and create that awareness of who I truly am, with that sense of gratitude of all that I have attained already.
Yeah. And so, gentlemen, what I'm hearing, and something from my own effort, is I can only focus on me. I think this is the conclusion, is we spend so much time trying to fix everything around us when I just need to fix me. So gentlemen, what is, okay, the root of feeling insulted? Is it just, as Baba said, I'm not full, I'm not content, I'm not using the knowledge, I'm not having the yoga? Anything more to add to that? What do you think is the root of feeling insulted?
I think it is because there's an empty space inside. You know, that story of how if there's a bean jar and it's full, there's no noise, which means my mind is still, my mind is silent. And when there's a little bit of a gap or a bigger gap, then there's more noise that's generated, a lot of waste thoughts that come, why, all the things that everybody knows about. And so what I need to do is to really keep filling myself every morning. And when I fill myself from Baba and I keep that attainment in a conscious way through the rest of the day, then in that stage, it's going to be very easy and natural for me just to stay content, but also then whatever is going on out there, I'll make note of it if it's useful. But if it's not, I'm not going to be offended by it.
So gentlemen, what are we filling ourselves with? Is it a feel-good factor? As I sit with Baba, is it self-talk, self-affirmation? What is it? What is the filling part?
Every morning when I connect with Baba, I take from Baba whatever it is I need. I need love, I need light, I need power, I need peace, I need truth. Whatever I need, let me take that from Baba. And if I can't identify anything, it's okay. Just sit in Baba's remembrance with a pure heart and a clean heart and see what Baba wants to give to you. And so if I'm doing that as a starter every day, and the Sakar Murli is also definitely reminding me of who I am, then the next step would be through the day. Baba gave lots of examples of talking to the self, and Baba called it churning. In today's Sakar Murli, Baba kept using this expression, churn, talk to yourself. And it's the essence of Gyan, talking to myself, reminding myself that my direction, my perception has to be in this specific way. It can't just be in the way of the world out there.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much. So actually connected with this, gentlemen, did Mama Baba ever send anybody away? Or drama just made that happen?
In Baba's days, Baba never asked anybody to leave ever. It just happened that the soul decided to go away and the door was always open. Some left in Karachi, as you know, but most of them stayed. And then coming to Abu, it was such a difficult transition, and it was in drama. There was by then the beggary part, the pot was empty. It was very cold climate. It was very high altitude for people used to tropical climate at sea level. So everything was different and not very comfortable. And these circumstances were such that they just moved to India from Karachi, by then Pakistan. And at that point, the relatives knew that they'd come to India, so they were sending letters inviting them to come. And for everyone, Baba said, if the child wants to go, the door's open. And so many did go with that intention that they'll go and do service. But for some, the service never happened. And they just then went back to their family and their family cared for them. But for others, it was time to experiment with giving Gyan. And this is why Sakar Murlis share so many different ideas of how to present any aspect of Gyan, because these are the Murlis that were being spoken. Spread the knowledge, establish centers. So it was a very different era at that time. But nobody ever got sent away, as far as I'm aware. And then with Dadi Prakash Mani in charge, if there had been a break in purity after that time of surrender, Dadi would say to them, go back to your Lokik home and go for a year and just experiment with Dhyan and yoga, and then come back and we can talk about it. And they were then expected to go to their local center every day. And some did, some didn't. And those who didn't, they sort of dropped by the wayside. And those that did wanted to come back again to Madhuban. And Daddy let them come back, but not in the same role or the same duty or category that they were in before. So say, for example, if they were cooking, now they weren't permitted to cook, but they could be assisting in other jobs. Cooking, not possible, but cleaning maybe, whether it's a kitchen cleaning or cleaning somewhere else. But you could see how Didi and Dadi had to deal with things in a different way. Time was different. And that's how it worked then.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, we move on to the questions in the chat. So how do you know when it is good to stay in a situation because you have to learn something? And when is it good to just leave the situation? Because, yeah, because even after several attempts of resolving it, it's still causing you trouble.
There's so many different scenarios. And a question that I would have is it going to create more bondage for me if I leave? A practical situation, a woman leaves her husband, and at that moment, she doesn't realize how deep her attachment is either to her husband or to her children. That's one factor. It comes up as time goes by. And the other one would be, is the woman educated? Can she get a job? Has she had the experience of holding down a job? Can she manage on her own? And if she can, then fine, let her seek her independence and stand on her own feet. But the problem in these situations is that, and again, usually it's the woman who's in trouble over celibacy and things like this. But if the woman is not educated, if the woman isn't going to be able to earn her own living, and we don't really know what she can do in the yajna, so you can see it becomes a very big situation. And in that point, it's really up to the woman to decide what it is she wants to do for her own future.
Okay. Here's another question. This is going back to Sakar Murlis now. So in the Murli of 16th of July, Baba said the king may issue the order, but it is the queen who rules the kingdom.
It's this expression, Raj Ranika Hukum Sarkar Ka, and it was a system that Baba adopted in Madhuban. Baba and Shiv Baba together, of course. And so there was a thought that would come that this would be of benefit for the children or the yajna. And Baba wouldn't directly tell the children himself. Baba would tell Mama. And then Mama would get it organized and make it happen in a practical way, because the majority were all sisters, whether young sisters or older, but it was all sisters. And so where Baba says repeatedly in the Murlis that Mama was placed at the in the role of being the mother, came again today. So this is how it works in Sangam Yuga. I'll give you another example very practically. Baba said to Mama when they came in all their chiffons and silks and satin clothes, because a lot of them were from that background where that was fashionable at that time. And so they were wearing those same clothes. They'd continued. And then Baba had the thought that we are now entering a yogi life and it's important to have simplicity. And so he asked Mama to talk to the girls about that. And today we're used to seeing white saris. In those days, white sari only meant a widow, full stop. There was no other connotation possible. And so Mama had to very gently speak to them and talk about all this, that, yeah, whatever is the atmosphere outside, we know that we're wearing white for purity. How should it be? And then also, should it be with blouses that are half-sleeved or three-quarter sleeved or long-sleeved? This was an actual discussion with the sisters, not Mama on her own or Baba. And within the discussion, everybody agreed that it should be long sleeves. And so that is a sign of a real BK, because in India, a lot of people wear white because of the sun. It gets reflected back. It doesn't absorb it in the same way as darker colors. So nobody had seen young people dressed in white, or especially with everything covered from neck down, even your arms. And so it became quite a talking point. But in discussions with Mama, they themselves came to this conclusion that to really follow the path of simplicity and having just that regular uniform of white sari and full sleeve blouses, that would be the way that we would take it up. And so everybody had a buy-in, and that's what happened. And so Baba, it would have felt like giving orders, but Baba telling Mama and Mama engaging with the community, and it was a very different feeling.
Nice, thank you. We have others, but I'm going to leave some of the questions for next week, if you don't mind.
That's okay.
But there is one I think that needs attention. And this person is saying that there are some online BK commentaries on YouTube channels, etc., that contain meditations of visualizing death of oneself and the deaths of their Lokik family. And this is in order to practice detachment. So is it advisable to have such meditations, Sister Jayanti, online?
I don't feel it's very useful, because it can create a huge amount of sorrow in the self and in others, which is totally unnecessary. Just remember that whatever you do as a Brahmin, you're on the world stage, everybody's watching you and everybody knows you as a Brahmin. And so you're setting the example, you're setting the trend in everything that you do. And my policy always is, if it comes in the Sakar Murlis or in the Avyak Murlis as a practice to follow, I will do it. But if it's not in the Sakar, it's not in the Avyak, then I can't make myself do that. And so Baba has never, ever told us to go through this visualize process. Baba says, yes, think of yourself in Paramdham, think of yourself as being totally detached from the body so that you're able to experience the eternal soul, and it'll answer many of your questions. So those are the things Baba tells me. Baba's never said practice this sort of meditation.
Yeah, thank you. So I just want to go back to what you were saying earlier. And I remember, Sister Jayanti, that even Dadi Janki had asked Baba whether she should get into a gown after she'd been wearing the sari for 70 plus years. So she even took permission from Baba for that.
Yeah, it was very sweet, because she came on the stage and she was feeling very shy and embarrassed. And then she asked Baba, and Baba said, "You're very nice as you are." And she was in her gown. But the interesting thing about Dadi, if you think about the image she created, it was one that was very neat. Everything was orderly. There was nothing messy. And it was very simple. The simplest lines you could draw on a sketch if you wanted to sketch Dadi. But literally no lace, no frills, no additional anything. Plain and simple. That's Dadi.
That's our Dadi. And we've been remembering her this weekend. I certainly have. That what would have Dadi felt and thought, and how proud she would have been of all of us. So yeah, we think of Dadi now as we take Drishti from Sister Jayanti. So much, everyone. And yes, we're going to put on the chat the link for the program that took place yesterday evening. You can just make a copy of it and have a look if you haven't seen it already. Thank you so much, tech team. So it's there in the chat. Yeah, it's a wonderful program, well made, as Sister Jayanti said, well presented. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sister Jayanti. Om Shanti.
Thank you to Aruna Ben. After a very long weekend and many weeks of hard work, you managed to again put this together. So thanks for your efforts, and thank you to everyone who's joined us.
In your eyes, I can see reflections of